Ojo Aba Meta Meta, third Saturday in October, 29th in Seawall, Galveston, Texas. Galveston, formerly known as Turtle Island, was a marketplace block for selling human cargo during the transatlantic slave trade. That cargo was many of our ancestors who never chose to be enslaved. We must not let this truth of history be revised, and there were others of our ancestors who were already here, drying their eyes from trails of tears. Fourth Saturday in autumn equinox, Libra season, third decan, harvest season. The season where Onile, or the spirit of Mother Earth, thins the veil between Orun, heaven, and earth. Aye. The collective voice of our ancestors amplify their presence, hence All Hallows Eve, Halloween, Dia de los Muertos, and Sankofa, the caravan to the ancestors. These celebrations all fall like leaves off a tree during this season. Sankofa. It means to go back. It means to go back to give thanks and praises to the Creator, regardless of the name in which we call him or her. To remember our ancestors, the ones we know not by name, and their ultimate sacrifice. We go back to remember our recent ancestors and the wisdom their lives left behind. We go back to reflect on where we've been, to be clearer on where we are headed. And this is my personal diary of the last decade of experiences while attending the Sankofa Caravan to the Ancestors, hosted by the Houston chapter of the National Black United Front, and how these experiences changed my life. I'm iiiYansa J. Muse, and you are watching and listening to Sankofa Mewa, the Diary of 10 Caravans. Ashe. Sankofa 2017. iiiYansa, Oya's new baby priestess. Pataki Oni mi ojo aba meta, owara mokinlelog bon. Odun egbawa meti de logun, ogbonojo egba oru. Diary. Today is Saturday, October 21st, 2017, 30 days into autumn equinox. The day vibrated on a 5. A day of releasing the fullness of self. The moon was waxing in the 8th house of Scorpio, and it was a 1 year, ideal for new beginnings. Ialosha, iiiYansa Ogbofu Nimole, a new name for my new being. I was a newborn iiiYalosha, an ancient spirit who come to bring the light. So amazed with this journey. In retrospect, it all made a deeper sense to me why the Sankofa, Caravan to the Ancestors, was so important to me. Oya is the mother of the ancestors, and I was not only her daughter, but one of her priestesses. I had never been more sure of anything in my entire life. I was so sure I didn't breathe a word to anyone until my ceremonies were complete. The first person I told was my mother. And I was nervous on how to break the news that I had fully converted faiths, granted that my ancestral lineage was full of deacons and pastors of the Baptist Christian faith. To my surprise, she decided to come with me to Sankofa. This year, I attended the caravan with my new Ile. My mother got to meet my new spiritual family. Remember the Ifa Ogun priest and the iiiYamaja priestess that I was following around last year? Yes, them. and we headed to Galveston as a separate group from the Mbuff caravan. We got to the water before the caravan came, and everything looked new. New as if I had never seen the sky or the water before. I felt light as the wind, and the beginning part of the ceremony was filled with blessings from elder priestesses and reunion embraces from those who came the year before. I saw my dear Nana Sula's spirit sister again, even more beautiful in all of her divine essence. I must admit, it was quite hilarious to see my mother's skepticism melt away when the drums took over. When she went over to that drum circle, honey, it was over. Her ancient essence really took over because I didn't know she had the moves she was busting still in her. As I danced in the circle of Joko myself, my dance became a dance of the wind, and I could even see the ancestral spirits out of the corners of my eyes. My senses were on turbo, and Oya was clearly having fun with her new baby priestess. As I do every year I go to Sankofa, I took my walk alone for stillness, offerings, and reflection. This year something really deep happened. When the winds picked up, my spirit surrendered in a way it had never surrendered before, and the sound of the wind was so loud, she drowned out the drums. And I could hear them, a symphony of sounds coming from the ocean. I could hear the screams of my ancestors I knew not by name, tossing and turning while packed like spoons on cargo ships. I could feel the boats rocking and reeling. I could see Olokun's floor where many jumped to the ancestor realm from the ships. I could smell the stench of waste and death aboard the ships. I could see the auction blocks. I could hear the ones who were already on quote-unquote American soil, chanting their invocations to nature in gratitude before the colonizers came. I could hear the wails of families being separated and sold. I could hear the cries of the raped. I could hear the whips cracking, the dogs barking, the racial slurs. I could see the cooks who poisoned the slave owners. I could hear the war cries of the enslaved who revolted. I could see our ancient practices being hidden under church ceremonies well. I saw the white and colored only signs. I could hear the freedom fighters on the bullhorns. I could hear the music created from the pain, and I saw all the faces of ancestral genius. It felt like I had stood there a lifetime, when really it had only been a few minutes. Lastly, came a vision of the offering I made in 2010, the piece of paper. I saw it come back to me, full of my marching orders from the spirit realm. I felt my tongue swell, my hands pulse. I came to. Roger that, I whispered to the ocean and came back to the crowd. I under, over, inner, and around it stood Sankofa, the caravan to the ancestors on another level. This was the first Sankofa that carried me to one of Oya's main domains after the beach ceremony. That domain was the cemetery. We went to one of Galveston's most historic cemeteries, Rosewood. I honored her there too, honored Mama, and it quickly became a Sankofa yearly tradition for me. From this point forward, I would visit my mother's domain, the cemetery, before coming to the waters of Yemaja and Olokun. Ashe.